The number is 12. 12 F-22 Raptors, the most lethal air superiority fighters ever built, parked in hardened aircraft shelters at Avda Air Base in southern Israel's Negev Desert. The first time in history the United States has ever deployed offensive combat aircraft on Israeli soil. Not a drill, not a show of force. A forward operating position, pre-positioned, pre-briefed, and waiting for a single word from a command authority that had already made up its mind. That word came at 2:16 inches the morning, Tehran time, on the 28th of February, 2026. The word was go. This is the story of the 90 minutes that followed. The 90 minutes that ended an era of nuclear ambiguity, ignited a regional war 3 decades in the making, and answered the question that every military analyst in Washington, Tel Aviv, Moscow, and Beijing had been running in their heads for 20 years. What actually happens when America and Israel decide to stop talking and start flying? The F-22 Raptor is not just a stealth aircraft. It is the product of a design philosophy that treats the electromagnetic spectrum as the primary battlefield. Its surfaces deflect radar energy away from threat emitters. Its engine inlets hide the fan face behind serpentine ducts that scatter return energy into incoherence. Its radar cross-section is roughly equivalent to a large sparrow, depending on aspect angle, if the engineers are being uncharitable about their own work. Against Iran's most capable ground-based air defense systems, that cross-section is the difference between a duel and an execution. The 12 Raptors lifted from Avda in pairs, spaced 90 seconds apart, climbing east through darkness that offered no concealment to any platform except themselves. Each aircraft went electronically silent the moment its gear retracted. No radar, no transponder, no radio except encrypted burst communications on frequencies the Iranians have spent 2 decades failing to characterize. The mission split into 2 layers. 6 aircraft, sword flight, entered Iranian airspace from the northwest to kill radar systems. 6 more, shield flight, held at altitude as a protective screen for the strike packages behind them. F-35Cs from the Abraham Lincoln, F-15ES from Al Udeid, and B-2 Spirit bombers already airborne from Missouri. Their bomb bays loaded with massive ordnance penetrators, designed for one purpose: collapsing hardened underground facilities buried under 30 meters of reinforced concrete. Iran knew something was coming. They had known for weeks. 2 carrier strike groups, 12 F-22s in Israel, 40-plus tanker aircraft holding orbits that make no sense for anything except sustaining a long-range strike campaign. Their air defense forces had been at elevated alert for 10 days. Their missile units dispersed into the countryside in exactly the mobile posture their doctrine prescribes for this scenario. What Iran did not know was the precise timing. And in air defense, timing is everything. A system at elevated alert for 10 days is exhausted. Its operators have been watching empty screens for 240 consecutive hours. The United States had waited, with extraordinary discipline, for the exact psychological moment when Iranian readiness was at its lowest ebb. Those 4 extra days cost something in diplomatic exposure. They purchased something that cannot be bought any other way. The first indication Iranian radar operators had of something approaching was not a contact on their screens. It was the sudden absence of data from 3 of their highest quality radar stations along the western approach corridor. The Matla, Ul, Fajr, 3-phased array near Isfahan went dark at 2:31 a.m. An AGM-88 HARM anti-radiation missile had homed on its emission with the patient certainty of a weapon that does not make geometric errors. The array that took Iranian engineers 3 years to build ceased to exist in a fraction of a second. The EA-18G Growlers from the Gerald R. Ford had been blanket jamming the Ghadir over-the-horizon radar network for 6 minutes before the first Raptor crossed the border. Iran's eyes along the western corridor went blind before they knew the aircraft were there. Iran scrambled fighters. Its doctrine demanded it. Its pilots expected it. The F-22 pilots of Shield Flight had already positioned themselves above the scramble bases at Mehrabad and Cherokee before the Iranian aircraft reached altitude. Each Raptor had a firing solution computed for every Iranian jet its passive sensors could track. The Iranian pilots, F-14 Tomcats and MiG-29S, were transmitting on every sensor they had, broadcasting their positions as clearly as a searchlight in a dark room. They swept their radars. They found nothing. The F-22s were 11 degrees off their search volumes, at different altitudes, tracking them in complete silence. The Iranian fighters were allowed to land, all of them. That decision was itself a message. We have been watching you since your engines started. We could have killed you at any point. We chose not to. That choice will not be available in the hours ahead. Meanwhile, sword flight was killing radar systems. The Bavar 373 acquisition radar at the first Zagros ridgeline position was struck by a GPS-guided munition at 2:39 a.m., hitting within 4 meters of its aim point. A $340 million installation, 4 years in the making, gone in the time it takes to read this sentence. At 2:51 a.m., the main strike package crossed into Iranian airspace. And then, Iran did what its doctrine demanded. It fired back, not with its air force, with ballistic missiles. Hundreds of them, launched from dispersed mobile units across the country. Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, the 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, bases in Kuwait, Jordan, and the UAE, and Israel everywhere in Israel because the doctrine is saturation, and saturation requires volume. The Aegis combat system on the Abraham Lincoln detected the first launches within seconds. The Battle Watch captain's voice was flat and precise in the way professional warriors speak when they have been trained too thoroughly to allow any other register. Vampire. Vampire. Multiple ballistic tracks. All Aegis systems engage. This is not a drill. At Al Udeid, 13 Iranian Shahab, 3 and Imad missiles met 3 pre-positioned Patriot batteries. The first volley was destroyed entirely. In Bahrain, 22 missiles targeted the 5th Fleet headquarters. 19 were intercepted. 3 reached detonation proximity. The damage to the pier complex was real. The casualties were real. The statement read at the Pentagon briefing 17 hours later used the phrase, "Our service members fought with extraordinary valor," and gave a number that will be carved into a memorial wall that does not yet exist. In Israel, Arrow, 3, and David's Sling worked at their operational limits against Iranian ballistic missiles and Hezbollah rockets launching simultaneously from Lebanon, a coordinated barrage 3 years in the planning. The shelter system held, but the missiles kept coming. Iran has the stockpiles. It has the dispersed mobile launchers that airstrikes can only find one at a time. Every B-2 pass, every Tomahawk salvo, every F-35 strike took fixed infrastructure offline. The mobile systems were harder. What happened in the first 90 minutes of Operation Epic Fury is this. 12 F-22 Raptors flew into the most heavily defended airspace in the Middle East and came out without a scratch. A strike package years in the planning struck targets 3 previous administrations said could not be struck. Iran retaliated with exactly the doctrine it advertised, hitting targets American planners had positioned defensive systems to protect. Some of those systems worked perfectly. Some did not work well enough. American service members died. Iranian soldiers died. Iranian civilians died in a girls' school in Hormozgan province that will become a symbol of this conflict's moral weight that no one in any capital is prepared to fully reckon with right now. The 90 minutes are over. The campaign is not. The question that was never seriously asked before the first bomb fell, what does the end of this look like, is the only question that matters now. What does Iran look like on the other side of it? What does the Middle East look like? What does American domestic political will look like in 6 weeks, when the initial shock of a spectacular opening has been replaced by the grinding arithmetic of a war against 90 million people whose foreign minister, the night before the bombs fell, said a deal was nearly complete? The F-22s are extraordinary machines. The pilots who flew them are extraordinary people. The planning that put them in Iranian airspace without the loss of a single aircraft is a genuine achievement. None of that answers the question. History, as it always has been, is watching, entirely indifferent to the quality of anyone's aircraft.